And now it's my pleasure to introduce our main speaker, Craig F. from Lake Forest.
Oh, God. My name is Craig Flanagan. I'm alcoholic. My sobriety date is December 1st, 2010. My home group is the CDM Men's Stag. It meets on Tuesday nights in Corona Del Mar on 611 Heliotrope. And if ever down, come on and enjoy the madness at our meeting. It's, well, you can if you're a dude. So, my sponsor's name is Mitch B., and he actually knows he's my sponsor. And I love that guy. I it's weird, but I talk to him every day. And I don't really know where to start. I've been around this leper colony for a really long time. And my first AA meeting was in 1983. And I was 13 years old, so that kind of gives you an idea of where my life was before that day. And as far as I know, alcohol has always been a part of my life from the time I was a child until the day I sobered up. And it's interesting to me to think, well, I grew up in an Irish Catholic family that were drunkards. And so watching the chaos and the things that ensued around that, family life wasn't completely normal. And I can't blame them for how I was raised. They did the best that they could with what they had afforded to them. And but I always hear it said that, not always, most of the time, I didn't know from a young age quite how to fit into what was going on around me. And so I always kind of felt a little, I didn't know it at the time, but I felt isolated and alone from my family members, from the kids at school, from the kids I played with in the neighborhood. And when I had the opportunity to drink, I always took it. And at the beginning it wasn't that bad, but by the time I was like 10, 11, I was going on these missions with the boys, and we would steal booze from our parents, and I can't tell you how many times I woke up in a park with the dew and no one around and half my clothes off and wondering, how did I get here? And you would think that would be a clear indication that I had a problem, but the problem was I got so much relief from drinking that it didn't really, those times and those things didn't matter. It was a mere small consequence to take for the feeling of love and inspiration and connectedness that I got from the people I was drinking with. And so there it goes. That's my qualification. I didn't stay sober in 1983. It took me to 1993 to I'll just tell you what happened. I was on probation, and I was assigned to the anti-gang violence suppression unit for the probation department. And I hung out with some fellas that were doing horrible things. And I loved partaking in all that kind of stuff because it was so thrilling to be breaking the rules, And my friends were getting lined up and everyone was going to the penitentiary. And I was I was on probation to one particular judge, and I got in some trouble, and I was looking at a bunch of time, and I had been sentenced to so many programs and detoxes and facilities and mental institutions that she was done with me. She was like, okay, I was asking the public pretender to help me get out of trouble, and the lady looked at me, and I was like, please just send me to another program. She's like, I'm not going to embarrass myself to even ask. You're taking what you're getting. And when I went in front of the judge, she asked me if I had anything to say for myself. And I don't know exactly what I said to her, but it was definitely a plea for something. And I definitely didn't want to go to the penitentiary. And she sent me downstairs. She said, I can't even believe you asked me. Go downstairs and I'll think about it. And so at the end of the day, we were all getting on the bus to go back to the jail. And the bailiff came and got me off the bus and took me up into her courtroom. And she said, I don't know why I'm doing this, but if you can make it through this 90-day program, if you can find somebody to come and get you, because you've already burned through all of them, if you can find one that will come and get you, then you can go, but you have to stay for 90 days, not get in any trouble, and you're leaving here with a 16-year suspended sentence. And I was like, damn it, and I did. I wrote some letters and did some pleading, and I had 60 days to find a place that would take me, and I found a place. And in that time period, H and I was bringing meetings into the jail, and some of the people were really funny, but this one guy really struck a chord with me, and his name was Bob, and Bob gave me a big book, and he told me what meeting he goes to on the outside, and where I could find him if I needed any help from him. And so I went to the indigent recovery place. When I went there, you burn your life to the ground when you don't get any visitors. In jail, I had written my mommy, letters like for forgiveness, and the thing that I never got any mail. And right before I went to that treatment place, I got a letter. They called my name during the time where they were giving out mail, and I was astonished, and I went and I got the letter, and it was from my mom. And I ripped that thing open, and it was the most devastating letter I've ever gotten in my life. Please don't contact me. Please don't contact your father. Please don't contact your siblings. We've had enough of you and what you've done to us. Don't contact me till at least you have a year sober. And so I went to that place, and all the people were getting visitors, and like people bringing them clothes and doing all that, and I was the guy that was going down to the donation closet to be able to wear normal clothes because I didn't have anything. And I don't even know how to say this. They believed in Alcoholics Anonymous. So every day they had a meeting at the place that I was in, and people from the outside would come in, and I was fascinated with the people who were in Alcoholics Anonymous. They told great stories, and they talked about tragedies that they had overcome, it there's that part in the big book where the part of the fellowship you don't want to miss. And all these people sprung up around me and guided me towards discipline, getting up in the morning, making your bed, like going to all your groups, not giving anybody any grief, apologizing when you've harmed somebody. And there was this one dude. So it's hard to say in front of so many people, but I'll tell you anyways. So I had a real issue with people of other ethnicities, I can't even say it. There you go. And there was this one black dude who seemed as happy as a June bug. And I related to so much stuff that he talked about, but I couldn't find myself to ask him for help. So someone was like, you better pray it, then pray about it. And I was like, no, that's not going to do anything. And but I did, and God works in mysterious ways. Every time I went to a meeting, that dude would get right in front of me, and he was the first person that walked me through the big book and through the process of recovery that's outlined in the book. And it's interesting because the first run through the steps really don't make any sense, and I did them because he was telling me to, but they didn't have any real depth and weight to them. And I still felt that piercing loneliness and being alone for years. And I finally I made the decision that I had to change the AA people that I was going around, because to be honest with you, I didn't really want to be like any of them. There's good examples and there's bad examples, and I was hanging out with a cast of people that were bad examples. And so I made my way down to Huntington Beach, and the Triangle group was the one that really showed me how to behave in Alcoholics Anonymous and how to really work the steps. They took me through the book in a fashion that, I didn't know that the well-known stages of the spree. That's some pretty basic information, because I'm the one that's carrying that information around. It's my experience. It's not somebody else's. And what I was doing through the first run was trying to make other people's experiences mine. And so when I hit that part where it talked about the well-known stages of the spree, I wanted to hear what the dude had to say that was helping me. And he was like, no, what does this mean to you? And that really started my journey into exploring the ways of Alcoholics Anonymous and plugging my own experience into it. So the whole second step thing, it sucks, because my spiritual beliefs were based on what people had taught me when I was a child and through going through Catholic school. And when I couldn't behave the way that they wanted me to behave, I thought, it says it in the book, perfect, I thought I had abandoned the God idea entirely. And when I sat long enough in Alcoholics Anonymous, some of the people who really, they took the time to slow down and meet me where I was at, and then they asked me what my experience was, and they helped me go through it to see that I didn't really abandon the God idea entirely, that I could use what they were finding. And so they would tell me about their experience with behaving, with relationships, with how to show it up to work at the time, and how God had provided what they needed. If they kept close to Him and did His work well, then He provides. And, I'm working a construction job, making $4 or $5 an hour, and living in a sober living, not having enough money to really eat during the week. I had to pick between eating and smoking cigarettes, and putting $1 in the basket was just, oh my God, I couldn't see how to do it. And once I saw that there was once I saw other people's experiences, I started praying and asking God to show me what my experience was. How can I become closer and get closer to whatever this is that you are? And, you go right after that, you go into inventory. So inventory is the greatest thing ever. The resentment inventory is the greatest because it's all the shit, it's all the stuff that I think about all the time. It's like that repeating thinking cycle of things of how people have wronged me and what if this changed, or if this was better over here, or if this had happened, or if I just wasn't there at that time. And, you go through 3 columns, and then when I got to the 4th, and they asked me to do the sick man's prayer. Like, help me set aside what they've done to me so I can look for my own faults. And writing... Oh, I'm going to say this too. Before I ever sit down to write inventory, I ask God to show me what I'm supposed to be writing about. Show me what to be writing about. Help me keep my mind on the things that you're providing me so I can put the pen to paper and be honest. And so I'm writing. I get to the 4th column. I'm not very excited about all the things that I see in there. And because I'm thinking about 9. When I get caught up in 9, when I'm writing 4, then 4 isn't very effective. And I get caught up in it. Well, the way that they taught me how to not get caught up in my inventory writing was at the end of the time that I pray when I go in, and then when I'm done writing, I pray out of the experience. I ask God to help me leave this on the paper in this place where I'm writing, so I can be free of the things that I'm writing about, because I know I can't free myself from them. And then you go through fears, or I see how anger really is manifested in fear, and fear. When I'm making the list, I see, fear of failure, fear of success, and it just goes down. And it shows me how I lie to myself just about everything. I worry about things that have never come to pass, and I worry about things that I think might happen later. And caught in that dilemma, it's easy to act out and to harm the people around me. And because all of a sudden they're not doing what I want anymore, and I'm in fear. But then you get to the relationship inventory, and the only thing that I'll tell you about that in a second. So I made the list, and then I went through the questions about how did I arouse jealousy, suspicion, bitterness, who have I harmed, what could I have done better, and I'm like writing all about all these people, and I saw that I wasn't a very good person to anybody that I was in an intimate relationship with, and I could see it because I saw how I treated them over in the 4th column. But when I look at the 4th column, I think about all the things that are happening there. And all my life, I've never been able to change those things about me. And so I kept writing. I finished writing. My sponsor asked me to write an ideal. And I didn't really know what an ideal was. So I chicken scratched something down, and then I got to meet with him. And the whole 5-step process is, man, I hate it, to be honest with you. It's really unnerving to have to be vulnerable to somebody, especially when you're so unsure about yourself. And the guy that I read my inventory was so kind and loving and didn't criticize me. And he listened, and he was writing stuff down while I was reading to him, and I was like, what is he doing? You know? Like, why is he writing? Is he going to tell on me to other people? Is he going to go back to the group and tell them what they heard out of me? And I went, he finished that. I went home. I did 6 and 7. He asked me to call him after I sat for an hour and call him if there's anything I'd left off my list. Because in the big book, this is only when you go into the 5th step, it warns you that if you're not completely truthful and honest, that we're quite sure to drink. And there were things that I was holding on to, so I had to call him and tell him myself there were things that I left off. And he was like, fantastic, let's meet tomorrow. So he had written all my character defects down on a piece of paper while I was reading my inventory to him. And I couldn't see him while I was doing it, but when he handed me the list, I was like, the first thing that I always do is I judge what people are giving me, and so he gave me the list, and I looked at it, and I was like, well, maybe kind of, And the other thing is, when I read that inventory to him, I had heard about all these people who were getting a great relief from reading their inventory to their sponsor. And when I left from reading my inventory, I didn't feel lightened at all. I felt so ashamed and guilty, and I felt worse than when I went in. And then when I looked at 6 and 7, I was like, I don't really know how to. Okay. So what I started doing is I put all my amends on these 3x5 cards. And it was the person, their name, their number, where they lived, and what I needed to clean up with them in bullet points. And out of that inventory, that inventory probably took me 16 hours to read. It was in little sections over time and over like 2 weeks. And I wrote all the cards. I met with my sponsor about who I needed. I'm like, dude, I had 580 something people to go talk to. And I was like, dude, how do you do this? How can I possibly go about my life? And this is huge. And he was like, oh, it's really simple. Oh, yeah, simple for you, dude, And in the morning when I got up, I would do my prayer and meditation, which I had been doing since I started the process. And I had a rubber band around them, and I would pull one off in the morning and look at it and see the person, and I would think about the injustice that I did to that person and that I owed them. And I would say, God, I don't know if this is the person that I need to talk to today, but if I see him today, give me the courage. Give me the courage to talk to him or to call him or to set up an appointment or something. And at night before I went to bed, that one went on the bottom. At night before I went to bed, I pulled off the next one. And during that time, I was, like I said, I was doing grunt work, labor work, and I had a backpack that I carried with me around with me all the time. I had all those cards in there. So the funny thing about it is I was asking him, how do I figure out who to talk to? And, God paved the way. People started calling me. People started showing up at meetings. People started, I was at the Home Depot. I see someone. I know they're on my list because I just said their name the other day to myself. I go, I say, hey, dude, do you have a few minutes? I need to talk to you. And he's like, well, yeah, okay, whatever. So I said, I got to go out to the car and get my backpack. And because I don't want to screw this thing up. And I go get my backpack, and I shuffle through, and I get his card, and I go, I'm a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and part of the program that we have is that we try to clean up the wreckage of our past. Here are the things that I can remember that I've done to you. And I was instructed to wait after that, and then ask him, is there anything on this list that I've forgotten? And then shut my mouth and listen. It's not always easy. And then the most effective thing that I found too is when they're done telling me the things, then I ask them, how has this emotionally impacted you? And it's a horrifying thing to ask somebody. And because the truth gets revealed in that moment. And then the other thing, after you listen, and you have those people that won't want to tell you all those things, but if you pause long enough, they'll tell you. And then they told me, if it's not immoral or illegal, then you have to try to do what they're asking you to do. You want to change your behavior and the way you look at life and the way that you look at other people, then go do the things that they're asking. And so whether it was paying the money back or... So I can tell you one person, and so everyone has a mom, right? So during this process, my mom called. And I wasn't allowed to go to her house, but I could meet her at church, which I didn't really want to go to. And then I went, I sat in Mass with her. She looked at me and said, I'll see you next week. I was like, okay. 3 weeks later, she's like, you need to come over to the house. And when I went to the house, I brought my backpack in with my note card in it. And I did the spiel. Here are all the things I can remember. Is there anything I've forgotten? When we get to the end, if there's anything I've forgotten. She had her own laundry list. And the thing that became apparent was the things that I was resentful at, and I had written an inventory and done all this process with, wasn't really the truth. The truth was when I sat down with her, what she remembered and her version of what went on. And I had been lying and manipulating myself for so long. When you sit down with someone that you have broken, the Spirit comes alive in you and in them, and a healing bonding moment happens that I didn't ever think was really going to happen. And so I said, I know I owe you money. And she was like, hold on a second. She brings out a 3-ring binder with everything I've ever stolen from her, every receipt, everything that I had broken from the time I was young. And when I had to get to that part where I have to ask him, how can I make this right? Like I've been saying I'm sorry all my life, but when you ask the people, how can I make this right, it changes the dynamic of the conversation. And she said, well, why don't you come back next week and let me think about it? Oh, yeah. I was like, damn it. So I was like, It was the worst week of my life. So I showed up the next week. We went to Mass. I went to her house, and this is how she said, I've been thinking about it all week. And I know your work situation and your living situation isn't the greatest thing ever. So I can never take any money from you. But I have this list of stuff she wanted done around the house. The list still lives. But what I learned by going over there was, my sponsor said, when you go over there and you're doing that stuff for her, make sure not to lie to her and make sure not to take anything from her. Even if she offers you gas money, you're not allowed to take it. And I was like, damn it. Okay, I only slipped up one time. She put $20 in my bag. I saw her put it in it. I went to the meeting that night and I put it in the basket. And my relationship with my mother has grown since then. And so I went to a group that believed you could do it. You could accomplish and finish all your amends. That your job wasn't really your job. Like you had to go make money someplace. But the real thing in Alcoholics Anonymous is to be totally free and clear of all the shame and guilt and remorse that you've ever felt in your life. And through going through those cards and finding those people, my character changed. And that was something I couldn't have done myself. There had to be a power greater than me moving me through all those things, through all the activities in Alcoholics Anonymous, by getting vulnerable with you, by getting vulnerable with the people that I've helped, that I've harmed, and watching. Like when people ask you to do stuff, I always think, that's so inconvenient. I got asked to go back to a meeting where I stole out of the treasury, and they asked me to be the chairperson of the group for a year. And I was like, that's weird. But I hated that group. But it wasn't really hate towards the people. It was hate against myself for the way that I treated the people in the meeting. And after a year of going there, I really felt like my amends to that group was finished. And I was able to bow out and carry on with it, other things in my life that were going on. And the people that I hung out with hurt a lot of people. And we did a lot of horrible things. And some of the victims of those crimes have showed up in my life. And having to make those things right in person in front of somebody that you ravished was some of the most moving times I've ever had in my life. And I'm grateful for great sponsorship and navigating those things, because I would have messed it up, and I got 11 minutes. So I wish I could say that in that period of time I was sober for 11 years. And then the weird thing happened to me where I drank again. And when it happened, I was like, oh, whoopsie, and God had given me a beautiful wife, three beautiful children, a business, homes, cars, travel, all the things. And we were out of the country, and I was like, oh, well, when I get back, I'll just go back to my meeting and stand up and tell on myself, and I'll just slide right back into the things that I was doing. And I wish I can tell you that's how it happened, but that's not what happened. I believe that you don't get to pick your sobriety date. That 6 years later, I had burned everything to the ground. I was basically homeless. I was getting out of the state penitentiary. And on the bus ride home, in prison, they have booze there. But they also have pills, like other people's psych meds. So I've been taking other people's psych meds to get a head change the whole time I was in there. And when I got out my brother picked me up, and the train station in Calabasas? He dropped me off there on the train, and I had $200 in my pocket, stupid state. And I found the bar card, and I drank on the way back down to Orange County. And I got back in the mode of blaming everything and everybody for everything that was wrong in my life. And my family was having their Christmas party, and I wasn't allowed. Of course, I wasn't allowed. And I was waiting on. There's a park by my mom's house where you could see her front door, and I was waiting for everybody to leave, and I had that moment where I said, "Oh my God, all this is my fault. This is all my fault, and I can't blame anybody anymore." And that was my sobriety date. Was the next day, and I've been sober since then, December 1st, 2010, and it's been just a super wild ride. And the sponsorship that I got this time coming in was the guy who I would call him in a panic in a motel room, or I'd call him because I hadn't taken a shower in 2 weeks, or I'd call him and ask him for help from things, and that dude showed up every time I called him. And his name was Jim Delosier, and he passed away a few years ago, but he was the greatest example of Alcoholics Anonymous that I've ever met. And when he constantly came and was like trying to help me, I would so bad inside want him to help me and be able to do the things that he was asking me to do, and I just didn't have the power, And this time when I got sober, I said, "God, I'll go anywhere and do anything, just as long as you keep me from drinking." And that has been my thought process through this whole time of sobriety this time. And dude, so that was 16 years ago, and now I've been through so much stuff all the way up to now, and I'll tell you about two of the most powerful things that I have going on in my life today is I got diagnosed with cancer like 4 years ago, June 14th, 4 years ago, and I had stuff in my head, in my lymph nodes, in my heart, in my lungs, in my liver, and on my kidneys. And when the doctor came in to ask me if I had my affairs in order, all I could think about was my new wife and my 2 young kids at home. And no, I don't have my affairs in order. No, I don't have a fucking will. I don't have any of the things you're asking me about. And they sent me home basically on hospice. They didn't think that I was going to live. And during that time period, just crazy stuff happened. I started having people coming up and asking me if I would sponsor them. And I was like thinking to myself, you're asking? I might not be here in a couple months. but I'll try. I'll match your effort. Whatever you put in, I'll figure out how I can give my time to you. And I met with those dudes, like, I couldn't drive, so people had to pick me up and take me to go meet them. So I love the people that AA that took me to go meet the newcomer. And I got busy with those dudes, and something happened to me in the hospital that changed my perspective of what's important in life. And it's not the things and the stuff or the places we go or where we live or how we dress or what's going on. But I really realized that what I'll leave behind when I'm not here anymore is my relationships and experience with other people. And I ask God to please help me be impactful in my family's lives and the people's lives and my groups and my meetings and the places that I go to. And those new guys absolutely carried me through the darkest of my days that I've been here. And it talks about in the book that work with others, constant work with others will carry you through the certain trials on those spots ahead. And so I remember that. And I don't even have to try to go look for them. They just show up, you know? And when I think I don't have the time for somebody, the time always, there's my time, and then there's God's time. So when I wake up in the morning and I do prayer and meditation, I have these lists of things that I think I need to get done. And what happens is when my prayer and meditation routine takes about an hour and a half to hour and 45 minutes. And it's a lot of reading and writing. And when I'm done with that process in the morning, I know that whatever is going to happen today, I've asked God for the strength and the courage to be able to walk through it with my head up and know that He has a better plan than I can see. And in We Agnostics, it talks about our own conception, however limited, was enough. And so I read that part of the big book all the time, and my conception of God today, I know, isn't big enough. And when I lean into it, all the cool things happen, and He shows up more and more in my life. So thank you so much for listening to me.